I've been using Ninjatrader for over 5 years, and I have 4 must-have add-ons that you need for any trading strategy with the platform that is drastically gonna improve your trading and just the quality of life using the platform. Everyone that has used these indicators has said they have drastically changed and made trading on this platform way easier. And the biggest one that I actually haven't seen anywhere is a risk reward calculator. And so we've all seen kind of the simple, basic risk reward indicator that TradingView and a lot of these other platforms have, where you can kind of just say, okay, if I jump in here and I put my stop loss down here, and I get out here, what is the risk reward ratio of that? And, sometimes it'll calculate, okay, how much risk that will be with trading, one contract or one share or one pair if you're trading Forex. Now on NinjaTrader, I have something that has honestly changed how I trade, making it way easier to target a certain amount of risk every trade. I honestly cannot trade without this anymore. And so for an example, let's say I wanted to jump in here and I put my stop loss here. What this risk reward does is it helps me target a risk amount. And so for me, let's say I am wanting to target about $500 of risk per trade. Every trade, you want to try and risk the same amount. You don't want to risk a ton on one trade and then a really small amount on another, because over time, you want things to play out mathematically, right? To where if you have 50% win rate and your trades, play out that way over time, you want to be risking the same amount as well, because that'll help things play out. And so what this does is, based on where you're gonna enter and exit, it'll help you say, okay, I need to, trade one contract in this case, or sometimes it'll say, oh, if you trade one contract with an entry all the way down here and a stop up here, you're gonna be over your risk amount and you shouldn't actually take a trade. For me, the biggest thing is the market is always changing in volatility, right? A swing in this market right now, when the market's kind of closed, could be kind of small. And if you want to put your stop loss above a swing, if you're trying to bet short, it might take, 2 contracts to reach that amount. But in another scenario where the swing is way bigger, let's say, even just over here, if I say I want to put my stop up here and I want to enter in down here, well, I need to trade 1 contract to try and reach that. And so I have found this insanely helpful for easily and quickly targeting a certain risk amount. You can just double click this and change this to, let's say if I wanted to risk $1,000 per trade, and you can give it a little bit of wiggle room. So I can actually, this says it has 10% wiggle room. And so it can go over to actually $1,100. So you can, try and be targeting that amount, and you can see here it just easily adjusts that. And so it's super simple and extremely helpful. And honestly, the most game-changing update that this has actually had is, if you look at right here, it says it's 4 contracts right now, and the order quantity is set to 4. And so normally what you would do is, you say, okay, here, okay, I need to trade 3 contracts. I need to go up here and, quickly change this and then jump in on an order, right? But what this does is it automatically adjusts. If you look at those 2 numbers, as I move this, it automatically changes that, and you don't really have to adjust how many contracts you're trading. And so I think that is an insanely powerful tool that I honestly haven't seen anywhere. I've really looked and I haven't seen anywhere. And then as well is when you're doing this on NinjaTrader, normally you have to, let's say, right click and say, okay, based on that, I want to do a sell stop right here. If the market comes down here, I want to get in short for 4 contracts. And this is really nice because it'll adjust that. You can easily just say, okay, now I want to sell stop, and it'll adjust it to 3 contracts. But what's really frustrating sometimes, and what can happen, is if let's say I right click here and say, I want to jump in with a buy stop, and the market moves too quickly, it can do this where it rejects your order. And if the market's moving quickly, which it's not doing right now because it's closed, but if it's moving really quickly, trying to have this window pop up, click OK, and then right click and find the right order again is really, really detrimental to getting in quickly. And so this other indicator that you can see actually over here is called the Click Trader. And so all it does is it allows you to, with a couple hotkeys, if I just hold the Control Shift key here and my mouse is below price, it'll do a sell stop. And if it's above price, it'll do a sell limit. And I can flip it to doing the buy hotkey, which is Shift right now. You can adjust those to doing a buy stop or a buy limit below price. And it won't do that rejection issue that if I click here, it will automatically flip to being a buy limit if that buy stop would have been rejected. And these can get changed around to do a market if touched, stop limit. You can even adjust it to do order offsets by, a couple of ticks. That's if you want to use these buttons right here without clicking. And so that's something that for me, just the combo of these two has been a drastic change, because I can say, okay, let's say I like this support possibly right here, and I want to jump in right here. And I just quickly move that around and click, shift click on the chart, and it immediately enters in, and so it quickly changes the orders, making it super easy to rapidly jump in. So for, day traders, people trading scalping on a shorter, smaller time frame where things can move pretty quickly, I think these are kind of a must-have on Ninjatrader. Now, the last two are kind of quality of life upgrades if you want. One you can see here is this little time counter. The native one for Ninjatrader you can see is right here. It's just in the bottom corner. And all this one is, it's just a bar timer that just is coded to sit right next to the bar. And it's just really nice to have, honestly. You don't have to be moving around, especially for me when I'm waiting for a bar close is kind of my signal to get in. And so, if I wanted to jump in here and I'm kind of waiting for this bar to close for the last couple seconds, I don't want, my eyes darting back and forth between down here and down here, back and forth, kind of waiting for that last couple seconds. And then the last one, this isn't one I necessarily use because I prefer the Click Trader, but it's one that I think is really beneficial as well, is if you like to trade off of candlesticks, is it's called the Candlestick Trader. And so what it does, if I just click buy here, you can see it highlights a little green box around the screen. And once this bar closes, it'll input an order. And right now it's just set to do a market order. And so right when that bar closed, it said, okay, we're gonna put in an order, and it just inputs an order based on what you want. And so right here, it's set to market. You can do a limit order. You could do, a buy stop, a stop limit. You can change it based on enter at. And so this was based on the bar close, but you can change it to the low, the high, the open. And so let's say, if I want to put a buy stop because I want to jump in at a break of this candle, I can do the bar high and then offset it by, let's say, 1 tick, because it will have broken the high of this previous candle. And then so then I just do buy stop, and it just puts that order in and sits there because it's waiting for the candlestick to close. And so this will adjust based on whatever time you're using. Right here I'm using a 1-minute candlestick, but you can also use based on, you can use a 10-second candlestick. And so there you can see it, once it closed, and there was a little bit delayed because the markets actually closed and it didn't print, but essentially it put it in 1 tick above this red candlestick. And so that would be kind of what I would want to see for it to break above the high of that candlestick. And then you don't have to, if that's your signal, the reason why I like this over the Click Trader, if that's your signal of, hey, I just want to get in once it breaks the high or the low of this candle, you can just have the system do that. You don't have to try and see, if this candlestick is punching higher and higher, you don't have to, be trying to move your mouse and say, okay, I gotta click in here, I gotta click here now, I gotta click here, because it's slowly, adjusting higher and higher. And so those are kind of the main 4 that I use. And I think, honestly, the biggest one is this risk reward tool. You can even change it to where you can change the currency, so you can have it so it shows you if I have a 1, 2, 3x profit, it'll show you based on how much you're risking, how much profit you can make as well. So that's really nice for calculating and seeing potential risk reward ratios when you're trading, because that's really important to see, okay, does this swing have the potential to give the risk and reward that I want from trading? So I highly recommend getting these and checking them out in the link in the description below. Those links will have tutorials on how to install them, more details on how they actually work, this is really just me kind of giving an overview. And honestly, I highly recommend getting this risk reward tool just for the fact that it can drastically help you in real time target a good risk. Before I had this, I had a sticky note on my screen of how many points was at a certain amount of contracts was a certain amount of risk. And I'm telling you, this thing is a game changer when it comes to trading.